Dumelang mangwanani mwalelepo vukenjani qeqas vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. Today is Thursday, the 9th of December, and as usual, you're joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raizakweyo.
Today is also Christmas Card Day. Way back in 1843, the first commercial Christmas card was created in England by Sir Henry Cole, a civil servant who was responsible for the idea of sending greetings scribbled into the now familiar cards we get around the season of good cheer. And here is more on Christmas Card Day. Welcome back. In our top stories this morning, 38 die in huge Burundi prison fire. A massive fire tore through an overcrowded prison in Burundi before dawn on Tuesday, killing dozens of inmates and seriously injuring many more, the country's vice president said. Many prisoners were still asleep when the blaze took hold of the penitentiary in Burundi's political capital, Gitega, witnesses said. The vice president, Prosper Bozombaza, who visited the scene of tragedy with several ministers, told reporters that 38 people were killed and 69 people were seriously hurt. The blaze broke out at about 4 a.m. and green images posted on social media showed huge flames engulfing the prison and bodies of men lying on the floor. The Interior Ministry said on Twitter that the disaster was caused by an electrical short circuit at the nearly century-old prison.
In our second story, Omicron variant could signal the end of COVID-19. A health expert in South Africa thinks there could be a silver lining to the emergence of the Omicron COVID-19 variant. Richard Friedland, Chief Executive Officer of Netcare, said the early signs from Omicron infections suggested the variant was highly contagious, but it did not cause severe illness. He said a similar pattern was seen with the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu emerged in 1918 and resulted in the death of around 50 million people worldwide. By 1920, the virus that caused it became less deadly, causing only ordinary flu. This is potentially the evolution of what we saw with the Spanish flu. The goal of the virus is to be able to transmit from host to host. The virus doesn't want to kill its host. The virus wants to remain alive. How does it do that? By becoming more transmissible. Mark Mendelson, the head of infectious diseases at Groote Schuur Hospital, agrees. Friedland also suggested that vaccines seem to be a factor in Omicron symptoms being less severe. We are seeing breakthrough infections of people who have been vaccinated, but the infections we are seeing are very mild to moderate. So for healthcare workers who have had boosters, it's mostly mild, he said.
SADC Chair blasts travel restrictions. In a statement, SADC Chair and President of Malawi, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, condemned the response of the countries over the new variant, which has also so far been reported in 23 countries around the world. It is now known that the new variant was already present in various Western countries, including the Netherlands, before its discovery by South Africa. We denounce this apparent targeting of countries in our region and reiterate that the travel bans are a show of lack of global solidarity and in contradiction to the international health regulations that mandate countries to share information on disease of major public health concern in a timely manner, he said. President Chakwera said that South Africa did to What South Africa did to alert the world about the existence of the new variant that was already circulating around the world was commendable. He applauded South African scientists for their speed with which they notified the World Health Organization about the new variant.
35.8 million face lean season food crisis in West Africa and Sahel. 36 million people are expected to be acutely food insecure by the time next year's lean season comes around, the United Nations reported, saying new data from the region indicates. This represents an alarming 24% increase in 2020, according to the latest Integrated Food Security Phase Classification Survey, which aids agencies to gauge levels of need. Behind these numbers, there are real people, said Olo Sib from the World Food Programme. We did travel recently across the region. Almost everywhere we went, people are worried. The IPC survey pointed to 2.6 million people in IPC level 4, which denotes emergency status, and a further 13,600 in famine-like conditions in inaccessible parts of Borno State in northeast Nigeria. Persistent insecurity in the Sahel and Nigeria is also driving the acute hunger crisis, since farming communities now feel too unsafe to stay to plant seed or harvest their crops. To make matters worse, the COVID-19 crisis has left people overwhelmed, the WFP official continued, pointing to a joint coronavirus impact probe by ECOWAS, WFP, and the Economic Commission of Africa that indicated that extreme poverty has increased by 3% between 2020 and 2021.
South Africa
MPs reject controversial land expropriation bill.
In a bid to allow South Africa's government to expropriate land without compensation as a way to redress the past injustices flopped on Tuesday after lawmakers rejected a bill to change the constitution. The proposed law failed to garner the required two-thirds majority in the 400-seat parliament, with 204 lawmakers voting in favor and 145 against. Black South Africans were disposed to their land during 3 centuries of colonialization and apartheid, the system of the white minority rule that officially ended in 1994. When the African National Congress came into power in 1994, the government pledged to redistribute 30% of South Africa's 60,000 commercial farms to black ownership. But as of today, whites, who comprise 8% of the population, possess 72% of the farms, according to figures cited by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Around 10% only are owned by black people, who make up a fifth of the population.
Parliament fears skirmishes over Botswana border treaty. The border treaty signed between Namibia and Botswana in 2018 could lead to potential conflicts and skirmishes between the two countries, an investigation by a parliamentary standing committee found. These little cases may lead to full-blown conflicts, eventually spilling into civil wars and cross-border conflicts, the report by the Standing Committee of Home Affairs, Security, Constitutional and Legal Affairs read. Namibian communities living along rivers bordering Botswana have lost a sense of national security and a great deal of their livelihoods due to aggression by the BDF, which killed 3 Namibian brothers and their Zambian cousin in cold blood last year. These are some of the findings by the Standing Committee, which investigated the security situation along the Chobe, Kwando and Linyati rivers in Zambezi. The committee, amongst other things, recommended that the Safety and Security Ministry prioritize and come up with a peaceful and sustainable approach to protect these communities. The absence of visible beacon rivers as vital demarcations of borders were also highlighted as key contributing factors, exposing local communities to undue BDF aggression as residents do not know when they cross into Botswana territory. It was therefore recommended that the Agriculture Ministry should prioritize the installation of beacons.
More than 1,000 cases of sex crimes registered. The National Police registered more than 1,000 sexual crimes against women and girls during this year, said the Chief Superintendent of the Department of Public Security and Operation. Lucia Reyes, who was speaking at the International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Rights of Women and Girls, added that of the crimes recorded, 858 occurred inside homes, representing 56%, and 371 on public roads, representing 24% of the crimes. According to the superintendent, in 60 to 80% of cases, there is a relationship between the aggressor and the victim, and many belong to the same family. The superintendent highlighted that 77% of the aggressors are people close to or known to the victim, and only 22% were detained. Lucia Reyes underlined that the rate of complaints is still very low, and defended the creation of educational policies aimed at identifying risk and the consequent participation of police authorities. For the head of the Department of Family Policies and Gender Equality, the Ministry of the Social Action, Family and Women Promotion, Isabel da Costa, several actions are underway aimed at combating sexual crimes against women and girls. Of the ongoing action, he highlighted the awareness campaign in the communities, as well as the training of traditional midwives on sexual health, care for pregnant women, birth registration, and moral values.
COVID contributed to 69,000 malaria deaths, WHO finds, though doomsday scenario averted. Disruptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in considerable increases in malaria cases and deaths between 2019 and 2020, the World Health Organization said on Monday. According to the analysis, moderate disruptions in the delivery of malaria services contributed to 14 million malaria cases and 69,000 deaths. Two-thirds, or 47,000 of the additional malaria deaths, were due to disruptions in the provision of malaria prevention, diagnosis and treatment during the pandemic. The report found that there was a 27% reduction in case incidence, cases per 1,000 population, of malaria from 2000 to 2020, with an overall downward trend in the malaria death rate from 2000 to the present day. This amounted to a 49% reduction in the malaria mortality rate from 2000 to 2020. The report noted that the WHO African region carried about 95% of global malaria cases in 2020 and 96% of global malaria deaths in 2020.
Plastics in soil threaten food security, health, and environment. Plastic pollution has become pervasive in agricultural soil, according to a new report released on Tuesday by the UN Agriculture Agency, posing a threat to food security, people's health, and the environment. While plastic refuse littering beaches and ocean draws high-profile attention, the Food and Agriculture Organization suggests that the land we use to grow our food is contaminated with even larger quantities of plastic pollutants. Soils are one of the main receptors of agricultural plastic and are known to contain large quantities of microplastic than ocean. FAO Deputy Director Maria Helena Semedo said in a report forward. As for the demand for agricultural plastic continues to surge, Ms. Somedo underscored the need to better monitor the quantities that leak into the environment of agriculture. In agriculture, plastic products greatly help productivity, such as covering soil to reduce weeds, nets to protect and boost plant growth, extend cropping season, and increase yields, and trees guards, which protect seedlings and saplings from animals and help provide a growth-enhancing microclimate. However, of the estimated 6.3 billion tons of plastic produced before 2015, almost 80% had never been properly disposed of. While the effects of large plastic items on marine fauna have been well documented, the impacts unleashed during the disintegration potentially affect the entire ecosystems.
Now, they say that the strongest force in the world is a mother's love, and I think this next story proves it, as mother chases leopard for a mile and fights it to save her son. A brave Indian woman reportedly chased after a leopard for over a mile, fighting it with her bare hands in order to rescue her young son from its claws. The woman, identified as Kiran Baiga from Badi Jeria tribal village in the Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, was reportedly sitting outside her hut with her 3 children, including an infant in her lap, when a leopard suddenly pounced on her 6-year-old baby, Rahul. Before she could even react, the strong feline grabbed the boy in its jaws and took off running towards the nearby Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Now, after running about a mile in the night, Kiran caught up with the leopard just as it sat down with its prey. Armed with nothing but a strong maternal instinct, the young woman allegedly lunged at the feline, freeing her son from its claws with her bare hands. However, the leopard didn't want to part with its meal so easily and attacked Kiran right after she freed her child. Kiran suffered injuries trying to fend off the leopard's attack, and she would have probably ended up as its victim along with her son if not for a mob of villagers who had heard about the feline's attack and had rushed towards the national park to help her.
Wow.
Let's talk about strength.
You.
Wow.
I
She
cannot-
went straight, she followed the leopard. Said, you're not going anywhere.
I
with my
cannot
child."
begin to imagine what she
We'll
went
ask you
through.
once you become a mother.
Yo.
Baby. This is still Africa. Good morning. Some of us were big fans of the Terminator series. Saying some of us were big fans of the Terminator series, and we started fearing, robots taking over, and it's starting to feel like it's a reality. So we're going to be talking about Sophia the robot and artificial intelligence right after this break.
Win instant cash this spring with Top Score Instant. To enter, buy any new pack of Top Score Instant 1 kg or 500 grams from any store countrywide and stand a chance to win one of 2 grand prizes of $20,000 Namibian or one of 12 weekly prizes of $5,000 Namibian. SMS Instant to 24442. Competition ends 30 November 2021. T's and C's apply. Top Score Instant, a proud product of Namib Mills.
Now, Singularity Net was born from a collective will to distribute the power of artificial intelligence. Sophia, the world's most expressive robot, is one of their first use cases, as they put it. Singularity Net is a full-stack AI solution powered by decentralized protocol and the first and only decentralized platform, allowing AIs to cooperate and coordinate at scale, removing one of the major limiting factors to AI growth today. It's been the lack of interoperability which severely restricts the ability to leverage the strengths and capabilities of individual AIs, and Ben Goertzel, the CEO and co-founder of Singularity Net, now tells us that Africa could become a leader in the field of AI. Have a look.
Now, many of you will be familiar with Ben Goertzel from our previous Cardano 360 shows, a good friend of ours and a pioneer at the intersection of artificial intelligence and blockchain. Here he is with an update about our work together in Africa with ICOG Labs and why he feels Africa has the potential to become a world leader in AI and advanced robotics.
Ben Goertzel here. I've been doing AI and robotics work in Africa, mainly in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, since 2014, when I co-founded, together with Sander Olsen and Getinet Asefa, a company called ICOG Labs, which is Ethiopia's first AI and robotics startup. So together with the amazing, brilliant engineers at ICOG in Addis, I've been involved in leveraging Ethiopian AI, robotics, and software talent to build systems and solve problems deployed all over the world. I mean, the ICOG team helped build some of the AI and computer vision behind the Sophia robot. They helped develop some of the infrastructure and dApps on the Singularity Net platform. And we've also been working on various projects aimed at using AI and robotics to help improve aspects of Ethiopian economy. So I've been doing AI stuff in Ethiopia for a while, since before I founded SingularityNet. I then pulled the ICOG team into SingularityNet to help with everything we're doing. And when I met Charles Hoskinson for the first time at a conference in Hong Kong, I was amazed to find, among our many other important commonalities, we were both doing advanced technology work, not just in Africa, but in Ethiopia, not just in Ethiopia, but in Addis Ababa. And that was very cool. It was one of the many similarities between us. We were both seeing some quite overlapping opportunities there. And of course, now things are far more advanced on the Cardano side, on the SingularityNet side, and in the AI and blockchain ecosystems altogether. What we're doing in Africa with SingularityNet has advanced. What Cardano is doing in Africa has advanced since that time Charles and I first met. And now it's exciting that, IOHK, Cardano, and SingularityNet, we're all working together quite closely on various Africa opportunities. And I think it's not an entire coincidence that Charles and I have both been very interested for a long time in rolling out advanced technologies in Africa. I think there's incredible opportunity there. There's so many young people there, so many students, so many brilliant young students with a lot of energy and knowledge, looking to change and improve the world. There are astounding opportunities for technology leapfrogging in Africa, for filling the need in Africa by building advanced systems using technologies like AI and blockchain that are not rolled out that widely in the developed world. So by filling Africa's needs using advanced technologies developed by African technologists and scientists in conjunction with IOHK and SingularityNet, I mean, we can in some ways see Africa advance faster, and in some ways maybe even take the lead over the developed world. And the digital ID initiative being pursued now by IOHK and Cardano, and together with Ethiopian government, is one example of that. Some things SingularityNet has done with using machine learning for crop disease diagnosis and using humanoid robots in education in Ethiopia. These are other examples of using advanced technology to help African systems leapfrog above many things you see in the developed world. But these examples are very important, very exciting, and they just scratch the surface of what's possible. One exciting development on the more concrete level is SingularityNet and ICOG Labs Ethiopian AI team. The group of people I've been working with for quite some time now are now sharing an office space with IOHK's Ethiopian team. So I think this is going to allow us to combine and cross-pollinate our efforts even better. And I'm extremely psyched to be working together with Charles and with the whole Cardano and IOHK team, and with the Ethiopian software and AI team at ICOG and SingularityNet that I've been working with for years. I mean, I think working together with these guys to both build the future of Africa on an advanced technology basis using AI, blockchain, and other tools, and leveraging the inventiveness and brilliance of young African scientists and technologists to help advance us faster toward singularity everywhere. I would say in many ways Africa is especially exciting, both because of the opportunities there and the level of ingenuity that you see in some of the engineers and scientists there. I think in many ways goes beyond what you find anywhere else. I mean, the complexity and in some cases adversity of the African environment breeds an inventive and energetic spirit, which is really special. I've seen this mostly in Ethiopia, but it's not just Ethiopia. I mean, there's this energy and inventiveness and youthful vigor across Africa, and I think to the extent we can leverage this, we can use AI, blockchain, and other technologies to better transform Africa as well as everywhere else.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neopaints, a coat of excellence.
You are still with Africa Good Morning, your reliable source for all the news you need stemming from Africa and the world. Today is a beautiful day, at least over here. We certainly hope it's going to continue feeling that way. But there's only one way to be really sure, and that's by checking out the weather forecast. Up next.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Hospitality Association of Namibia CEO Jita Peitsold speaks about the travel bans and restriction by Western nations on Namibia and other southern countries after South Africa detected the Omicron virus and the impact it has had on the tourism industry. She also elaborates on what the Namibian government has taken to address this matter and urges how important it is for a larger portion of the population to be vaccinated.
Very quickly followed by the rest of the world almost, especially the EU and United States of America and other countries, that they would ban travel to Southern Africa because the Omicron virus or variant was found or first identified by South African scientists. We were shell-shocked. I mean, that was completely unexpected, and we still feel that it was unfair because, having identified the virus doesn't mean the virus originates in our country. We've seen that before. Last year, in this time, we were almost in a very similar position where Beta was first discovered in Southern Africa or by South African scientists, and the region was stigmatized in terms of, the danger of COVID in a particular part of the world. We've seen things move very quickly last week, and for the first time, I think some of the African voices became very loud, stating that this kind of knee-jerk reaction that was taken by world leaders was unfair. It's completely contrary to what they have discussed at levels from the G7 to the G20. Even at COP26, they said the world must take hands and work as a team to fight this pandemic. And all of a sudden, just because of a panic-stricken announcement of one new variant, they actually punish one part of the world. And calling a travel ban for Southern Africa is basically sabotaging our economic recovery. Tourism is a very important economic sector, not only for Namibia, but also for Southern Africa, and especially for South Africa and the UK market. It was almost a death knell in the coffin of South African tourism last week. It's very pleasing to hear that both the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, and our own President, and he repeated that message again this week, said this travel ban needs to be lifted almost immediately because there's no scientific reason for that travel ban. And you know, the rest of the world seems to have had that virus even before it was identified by South African scientists. So actually we should have seen the world praise and applaud the South African scientists and not punish us for having gone that far as to provide that kind of information for the world scientists to work on. Luckily, we've also seen, and I believe that the United States has just come up with information through Dr. Fauci that Omicron is proving more and more to be a very mild virus. The mutations have mutated so vigilantly that it's actually weakened the virus, and that just could cause some kind of, you know, the coronavirus fizzling out at some point. That's what happened with Spanish flu 100 years ago. So maybe we are in a good way, but at the moment Southern Africa is suffering. I do know that there were immediate cancellations of some of the major tour operators, be it Datua, TUI, Icarus, most of the big tour operators immediately cancelled their scheduled tours, not only for this week or this month, but have cancelled until January of 2022. So we have lost millions, multiple millions in bookings. And things were actually looking up at some point. I spoke to a tour operator here in Namibia just before the end of November, and he said that his bookings for December, January was 200% up on the bookings of 2019, which means we were up on normal circumstances, never mind the 2020 demise. So things were really looking positive. I believe also in South Africa, they had really good indications for an upsurge in tourism for the festive season. December, January being a high season for South Africa. Not so much so for Namibia. We do have a lot of domestic and regional tourism in December, January here in Namibia, but also our international bookings were looking up, and that obviously came crashing down. We have been informed by our international partners that there are discussions to revert that kind of decision taken. I also know that our Ministry of International Relations did take the matter up with counterparts in other countries. The matter is under review at the moment, but I think the damage is done. Cancelled bookings will not be reopened very soon, and what it has done is basically reconfirm the anxiety, reconfirm the insecurity of travel and the volatility of the tourism sector. People are now almost too scared to make bookings a month or two in advance because we saw it last week how quickly decisions get taken that have huge consequences on our industry. And that's the problem that we in tourism are facing with. Namibia has done everything right. We were on a very good path. Our COVID situation is very well controlled, praise to the Namibian government and its people for having done what we did. And still we are suffering. So that's almost the paralytic, the paralyzing feeling that we have at the moment. We've done everything that we needed to do, and yet, you know, we are where we are at the moment. In terms of what we can do to salvage, obviously sound out the message that we are safe, we are sound, we are doing what is necessary, and that Namibia and Southern Africa is a safe destination to travel to. We've got the beautiful weather, we've got the wide open spaces. One call that should go out even louder and stronger to the Namibia nation especially is for them to vaccinate, because that seems to be the call that the international community is calling out on. Botswana's done it. They've reached a vaccination percentage of over 60%. I think they're at 64% at the moment. South Africa is also going very well. Here in Namibia we have to pull up our socks because that's, despite all the arguments and you know, different opinions, that is what the international travel trade needs, because they feel that that is one of the measures that we can put in place to limit transmission of the virus and severity. It's basically part of the safety protocol. And if we want to have tourism feed our economy and feed our people, we need to abide by the international expectation for herd immunity to be established also through vaccinations.
Whoa. Walk in the club, yeah, all eyes on me. I'll leave the room with none left to see. I am the one that y'all wanna be. Shake it, stir it, feel it.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. If you're new to us, you will learn very quickly that we are a reliable source for decentralized African news because we try to make sure that you get the news from every corner of the continent. Keeping that in mind, we're going to travel to Zimbabwe and get the news on the ground from Talent Gore. Good morning, Talent.
Good morning, Ashwin. Good morning, Aina. How are you?
We are all right. Now, the first story is not a particularly bright one for Zimbabwe, as Zimbabwe records the highest daily COVID-19 cases since the first case was recorded. Could you tell us about this?
Well, Zimbabwe is recording an increase in the number of new confirmed COVID-19 cases. Yesterday, we recorded 4,996 cases, and this is the highest that the country has recorded since the first case was recorded in March last year. So you've seen that despite recording thousands and thousands of new cases, the death rate has remained low as the country is recording an average of 2 to 5 deaths per day. But the confirmed cases, we're recording thousands and thousands of new confirmed cases, but the death rate is remaining low as we are only recording an average of 2 to 5 deaths per day.
All right, Talent. Zimbabwe's mortuaries are overwhelmed. Please tell us about this.
So hospitals in Harare, especially the public hospitals, they are overwhelmed with dead bodies. Parenyatwa group of hospitals is one such hospital which has confirmed that they are overwhelmed with dead bodies. People are not going to collect the bodies of their relatives. They say that they are failing to cope with the influx of bodies at their hospital. And this hospital, the mortuary in particular, has a holding capacity of 50 bodies, and as it stands, it is overflowing with more than 20 bodies. So relatives who were collecting the remains of their loved ones, they have expressed concern over the way the corpses are being lumped together. The hospital confirmed that they have a crisis, and they have pleaded with the government to at least intervene. The hospital also said that they have a challenge with a shortage of forensic pathologists. We have seen that in Zimbabwe, we only have 3 pathologists. There are 2 in Harare and 1 in Bulawayo, forensic pathologists. So it is very hard for them to go around every hospital in Harare to make sure that they examine the bodies and the bodies can be given to their relatives. So the hospitals have expressed concern over this issue, and they have pleaded with the government to make sure that it comes in and help with this crisis.
All right, now in the last of your updates, 40% of ECD pupils miss school due to long distances. Could you tell us about this?
About 40% of early childhood development children, they are failing to attend school due to long distances, particularly those in the rural areas. You find that they have to walk long distances to get to school. They walk kilometers and kilometers for them to attend school. So you find that they are not going to school at the moment. Most of them, they are failing to do so. So this was confirmed by the primary and secondary education permanent secretary, who said that despite measures that are being put in place by the ministry, by the government, to make sure that every child attends school, there was still this long distance challenge that was hindering, especially those in early childhood development, to attend school. So they said that they will come in and implement more measures to make sure that every child that has to attend school can at least go to school. So I don't know how they're going to do this and how they're going to implement these new measures. They did not tell us what the new measures are. They just said that they're going to implement new measures to make sure that this was, yes.
All right, seen through. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, this is still Africa Good Morning, bringing you the news as you need it. Shortly, we'll get into your economic news stories, but before that, a short break. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning. I'd like to reassure you that if you are here with us, you're absolutely in the right place. As promised, here are your economic news stories. Brent barrel rises to $75.7. Orders for Brent oil references to Angolan exports for the month of February are being negotiated at a price of $75.7 according to the market's dashboard. This increase of more than $2.5 compared to the previous day and of more than $7 when compared to the price at the close of the previous week and the beginning of this week reflects a greater confidence of the markets in the ongoing anti-COVID-19 measures. The last 6 days, on the other hand, were also one of continuous appreciation. The barrel went from $68.8 calculated on the 1st to $75.7 on Tuesday. In general, the Brent presents itself with an overall variation in the last 30 days of minus 8.7%. The highest value reached so far is $85.5. The lowest is $65.7. The average price is $78.2, and the calculated differential is $19.7. In the OGE 2022, which goes to the global vote on Monday, the price is $59.
IMF warns of economic collapse in poor nations, Mozambique included, without debt fix. The International Monetary Fund warned of economic collapse in some low-income countries unless creditors in the world's richest nations suspend debt service obligations and help renegotiate new terms. About 60% of the world's poorest countries are at high risk or are deadly in debt distress, double the share in 2015. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva and Sisla Pazabigauslu, head of the fund strategy, Policy and Review Department, said in a blog post. With the group of 20's debt service suspension initiative expiring at the end of the year and interest rates poised to rise, low-income countries will find it increasingly difficult to service their debts, the IMF official said. We may see economic collapse in some countries unless the G20 creditors agree to accelerate debt restructurings and suspend the services while restructurings are being negotiated. COVID-19 has dealt a major blow to world's poorest countries, causing a recession that could push more than 100 million people into extreme poverty, according to the World Bank. The challenges are mounting with the discovery of Omicron variant, which is driving a new wave of infections.
22 days left in the year, and I know it is very tempting for us to spend and spend and spend. But prior to all of that, you might want to know what your money is worth on the international market by checking out our economic indicators. Up next. Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. It's time for your sports news stories. Australia joins US diplomatic boycott of Beijing Olympics. Australia will not send officials to February's Winter Olympics in Beijing, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on Wednesday, joining a US diplomatic boycott of the Games. The decision, which stopped short of preventing athletes from attending the 2022 Olympics, comes a day after the United States announced its diplomatic boycott. The US decision was taken over what Washington termed China's genocide of the Uyghur minority in the Xinjiang region and other human rights abuses, prompting Beijing to warn the US would pay the price. Australia's tie with China have been in freefall in recent years, with Beijing introducing a raft of punitive sanctions on Australian goods. Australia is a great sporting nation, and I very much separate the issues of sport and these other political issues, Morrison said. The Chinese embassy spokesperson signaled Australian athletes would be welcome at the Games, wishing them all an excellent performance.
No team will want to draw Ajax in Champions League, coach says. Ajax Amsterdam coach Erik ten Hag said no team will enjoy being drawn against them in the Champions League around the 16th, when the pairing are announced on Monday after the Dutch club won all 6 of their group stage matches. Ajax completed a clean sweep of Group C with a 4-2 home win over Sporting Lisbon on Tuesday, with Sebastian Haller becoming only the second player after Cristiano Ronaldo in 2017-2018 to score in all 6 group games, with Liverpool also winning 6 out of 6 in their group. This campaign, the number of teams to have achieved the feat stands at 9, UEFA said. It is already difficult to win one match, let alone 6 in a row, said Ten Hag, who added that he would not watch the drawn for the next round. We know we can achieve something. No team will enjoy being drawing against Ajax, but we also know that we have to be very good to go to the next round. Hala, who scored 10 goals in the group, said he was proud of the team's performances.
All right, that brings us to the end of our sports news updates. We'll be bringing you your headlines after the break. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m. and here are the headlines from today's top stories. 38 die in huge Burundi prison fire. Omicron variant could signal end of COVID-19. SADC chair blasts travel restrictions. 35.8 million face lean season food crisis in West Africa and Sahel. Brent barrel rises to $75.7. And Australia joins US diplomatic boycott of Beijing Olympics. Those have been our stories.
We thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centswith@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. That's at Africa Good Morning. We also have a website called One Up To. Please do visit us. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light, and happy Thursday.
Sera Jaganaka.